This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
All right, hello, welcome to another edition of C2C Rankem. I'm the host, Big B, alongside my colleague halfway around the world, Tim the Oos Hendricks. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm hoping everybody had a good Easter, a good April Fool's Day. Yep. Since nobody seemed to have gotten my jokes in any of our chats, but my brother got the one about me telling that the Vikings had traded for Jordan Love with their 2 draft picks.
Oh, I missed that.
No, I sent it to my brother. You didn't miss much. He called me out on it. But it's WrestleMania week.
Yep.
Well, that's the Super Bowl. It's like the Daytona 500 of wrestling shows and the Super Bowl, which is funny because I never understood that. They called Daytona 500 the Super Bowl of auto racing, but yet they're not crowning a champion on the first race of the season.
I've always thought that too, because typically when you have a big show like that, you're crowning something, and I don't know, maybe if it's just because racing, that's the first race of the year, they want to make it big because race is not the biggest sport in the US here, so
right.
I don't know. I always thought that too, but yep. Happy Easter, happy April Fool's Day, happy birthday to my Uncle Pete, who was born on Easter or on April Fool's Day. So
and since we're giving everybody well wishes. I want to wish my mom and my late father happy 51st wedding anniversary. They got married on March 31st, which just happened to be Christmas this year. Yeah, we've moved up Christmas on the show. No, it's March 31st. So yeah.
Well, happy anniversary to Mama Hendricks, and rest in peace, Papa Hendricks. There. Yeah. So definitely a lot going on this week. WrestleMania week, like you said. The crew gave their predictions last week because we don't do shows on Easter, but we'll probably replay that here. But with that being, and hopefully big news coming here in Minnesota this week about WrestleMania 41, which everybody knows I'm a wrestling fan, waiting for it, and I'm getting teased, and just be Minnesota's luck that they tease it and then they lose it or something. Well,
so. I noticed your little thing there about the Twins versus the other team. Do you know who the other team is today for the Minnesota Twins?
Yep, it's that team over there.
It's the Brew my team over here. You're 3-1, mine 3-0. So
yep, 2-1, 3-0. Yeah, Twins got smoked the other night. And they've already had a tough road. Royce Lewis is going to be out for a couple games. They're talking about Matt Kempler. So, yeah, Minnesota luck. And hopefully the weather changes here, because I got tickets to August 9th game with the Saints. AAA ball club player for the Twins. So, but anyways, let's get back to our show. So we are doing birth months. I'm sorry, not birth month. Well,
states.
Birth states, yeah. Famous people born in different states. Just to clarify, because I was kind of lost, we do have Minnesota on here. No, we did not do a Minnesota state. It was for baseball. So just in case anybody's like, well, you guys did this already. No, we did a baseball one. So because I got confused a little bit, and Tim called me out on it. So
you called your no. You called yourself.
I actually called myself out on it. You're right.
Called yourself
Yeah,
out
you
on
just
it before I
clarified
called
it.
you out
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna start with the good old state of Kansas. Top 5 people born in the state of it kind of sound like Family Feud. The top 5 answers on the board.
Yeah.
So Kansas. As you guys know, me and Tim kind of see how many we're going to snipe from the other people. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3.
I could 3 knowing us. Your curveball is probably sitting at my number 9.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't have like a big sweeping curveball. I might have one that might get you may have.
Better yet, I will if most people know about their baseball and their baseball histories, I'd be more of a homer pick for you. And especially my number 9 would be. Now you got okay. That makes me say. Now I feel like my.
I kind of want to know who your number 9 is now.
And now it makes me feel better that my number 9 is where he's at.
Okay. All right. So what number you got?
I think we get 4.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could see 4 on my list. I mean, I could see. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I could see us sneaking in an early 5 here, but I don't think so.
An early 5 for 5. Well, I'm going to be honest that this is one of those ones we could have done 10, 15.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, all these states we could have done 10, except for Vermont. I think.
Except for Vermont. North Dakota. I'll be honest. North Dakota was a little tough.
Yeah, North Dakota. I think we could have squeezed out 10 though. All right,
maybe.
Number 5 for you. You start off.
All right. I've made this declaration on more than one occasion. That when we went on family trips, that we would listen to country music, and
we're not 5 for 5.
Okay, cool. but she's not old country. She's at the time, I think she'd be new country. I was lucky enough to see her at the UP State Fair. If anybody knows the UP State Fair, that takes place in Escanaba, which wasn't too far from where Brandon and I met each other.
Yep.
And if you're getting into the UP State Fair, you're really not that big of a headliner. But when I saw her, she was opening for somebody. She was opening for Merle Haggard. Of all people, was the open for Merle. And I love Merle Haggard. So you weren't going to argue with me. But my number 5, I absolutely loved her. I took a picture of her, and she looked directly at me and smiled in the middle of the song as I'm taking the picture. Nice. So I'm lucky to have that picture. I couldn't tell you where that picture is now, but I was lucky enough to see her with my parents. Again, like I said, in the UP State Fair. My number 5 is Martina McBride.
Nice. I did see her on there. So, all right, my number 5. Got to kick it off here. WrestleMania weekend. Do have a number 5 wrestler from Kansas. I wish I had his old Hype Man's opening, because I know it would drive Mr. Adam Barber crazy to have it. But I got one, Bobby Lashley at number 5.
I honestly thought, because he's my number 7, and I honestly thought you could have doubled him up with somebody else.
Ooh, okay. Number 4 for you.
My number 4
in Kansas.
Arguably, probably one of the greatest college head coaches of all time. Was lucky enough to have coached who I believe is the greatest of all time. And to think that he had a team with Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, and James Worthy on the same team at one point is absolutely crazy. And you saw what all 3 of those guys did in the NBA. But to continue those things on, and to give headaches to Mike Krzyzewski for I don't know how long at Duke. But my number 4 is Dean Smith.
Yep. And we'll start it off right there with the sniping button there. Yeah, at number 4, Dean Smith. Um, yeah, I mean, George, I mean, the list could go on. I mean, and, like you said, arguably the greatest basketball player. I know there's arguments for a couple others, which, we could listen to, but all right. So number 3.
My number 3, a kid. I'm saying he's a kid that came out of Toledo, out of the University of Toledo. If it weren't for one other running back on this team, would be considered probably the greatest Chicago Bear running back, if not player, to ever play in Chicago. But then again, you've on a team where Walter Payton is the guy who is arguably probably one of the goats of running backs. Then he, you saw the determination that he had, and then you see what happens in like a movie called Brian's Song when the guy absolutely poured out his heart to Brian Piccolo. But absolutely, probably arguably the top 6, probably in top 6 running backs of all time. To me, I've got my top 5, but it's hard to argue that this other great Chicago Bear. My number 3 is Gale Sayers.
Ooh, a good one. Now, you had me worried there that I did miss Sweetness on here. I'm like, I don't think it's from Kansas because, all right. My number 3, a lady that I think passed away too soon. I was shocked when I heard the story. I've seen her in all her movies, but I think I'll remember her most for her waitress or boss ability in the TV show Cheers, and that's one Christy Alley.
Yeah, we're not going 4.
No. All right, you're number 2.
My number 2, well, I just kind of alluded to the fact is that the greatest running backs of all time. My number 2 is technically, I would consider the number 2 running back of all time. Everybody keeps thinking that this guy is from Oklahoma. He is not. He is from Kansas. His kid, a kid went to Stanford. I don't know if he's getting drafted this year, but I know there's a ton of superstars, NFL superstar players that are having kids drafted this year, and it's weird to find this out. Another McCaffrey, a Rice, an Owens, I think there might be a Sanders, and not Deion's kid. My number 2 is probably the greatest Oklahoma State Cowboy of all time. Definitely the greatest Detroit Lion of all time, and arguably 1, 2. You could flip-flop him with Walter Payton as probably the greatest running back of all time. My number 2 is Barry Sanders.
Okay. We don't get political too much on here, but when it comes to ranking, certain things, and I think we have to put the number 34th president of the United States on there, Dwight Eisenhower.
I missed the president?
Yeah.
Holy heck, I missed the president.
I know. That's where I thought we probably would have.
Holy heck, I didn't even see it.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I didn't even see it. Don't make me feel worse that I've missed it.
Hold on here. I had to look. Maybe I got the right. Hold on. Maybe it's one of those where they claim to be from
Kansas, yeah, but not from Kansas.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, like the wrong Jimmy Johnson,
or exactly.
He's from Texas.
So go ahead with your
He's from Denison, Texas.
Yeah. Who did I put down then?
Well, who's ever your number 6, give that to him.
Yeah. All right. Go with your. I'm sorry, guys. I wrote down.
We all make mistakes. I did explaining that I tried to figure out that last week it was Jimmy Johnson, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and not the cornerback that played for the Dallas Cowboys, both in the Hall of Fame for some bloody reason.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Anyways, so all right. Well, I just bombed on my number 2. So
All
all right, you're
that's
number
cool.
1.
My number 1. Well, we're a place where it's going to be funny because my number 1 kind of links to another person in another state. My number 1. We always say you got to be a first at something.
Mm-hmm.
Most most people, if I were a real chauvinist that says, yeah, it would take a woman to get lost flying over the Pacific. But you know, I'm not going to be that guy. Even though I just said it. To me, I think was an inspiration in the 30s to do what she's done, to be one of the greatest pilots to ever do it, be one of the first female pilots at that. And I think more people, not just women, but more people should take a look at what she did, what she was able to accomplish in her brief time on this planet. My number 1 is Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
I love that. I love that when you do that. Okay, I'm like, wait, did I screw up?
All right. Well, he must have ties because there's a bunch of
He does.
Eisenhower family stuff. So
He does. I think he was stationed at Fort Riley.
yeah, maybe it's his wife that made up ties. I don't know. Anyways, my number 1, Tim, you took him at number 2. To me, I have no arguments with him or Walter Payton being number 1, number 2 in running backs, or even 1A, 1B. But yeah, Barry Sanders from Kansas. So, all right.
So you're curious about the double up, right?
Yeah. And
Corbin.
number 9.
Well, my number 9, I've got is Walter Johnson.
Oh, okay.
That's where the kind of semi homer card would have come out.
Yep.
And your double up would have been Baron Corbin.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right, so let's move to South Carolina.
Oh, South Kakalaki.
Yeah.
Oof. I'm doubled up in 2 spots.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go a solid 3. I think we're gonna stick with the 3. I can't wait to see your double up.
I think three's good, since at this point technically I have 6.
Yeah.
No, I've got 7 at this point.
I was gonna say you got 7 if you got double up.
Three's possible.
So my number 5, if I did not put this guy on my list, I think I would be getting served divorce papers, because this guy was the singer that we had picked for our wedding song, who we've also met twice. We've also seen in concert 3 times. And if I didn't put him on the list, I think the wife would definitely have me. So, and that number 5 is Mr. Darius Rucker.
Yeah, that one would get you killed. Wouldn't get me killed.
Yeah. All right. So you're number 5.
All right, my number 5. An actor we lost really far too soon. Has played some iconic roles. Most importantly, he's played Jackie Robinson in 42. Passed away with cancer after doing all the Marvel movies where he played T'Challa and the Black Panther. Was put through college through acting school by one Denzel Washington. Has thanked him on many occasions on receiving awards. My number 5 is Chadwick Boseman.
All right. My number 5, seen his TV show, which kind of has a homework tied to it, because he has a kid that plays from Minnesota. We've seen him on the TVs. We've seen him in a couple movies. It is WrestleMania weekend, so I got Paul White, a.k.a. The Big Show, on there at number 4.
Well, this is one of my double ups.
All right.
Half of it's been stolen already. But So yes, it's not C2C unless we're sniping, but we're half sniping at this point. I'm kind of playing a homer card for
Okay.
you, considering I've already basically told you that Paul White is one of my is my 4A, but there's a 4B since it
Okay.
is WrestleMania season, and the guy has been claimed to have been not claimed, he actually did, has been a college teammate of one Brock Lesnar. And
Okay.
to me, I think one of the better part of one of the better stables that kind of fizzled out and kind of just went nowhere, and kind of hoping that they kind of recreate with what is it? Who is it now? Angelo Dawkins and I'd like to see them redo the Hurt Business. But one of the original members of the Hurt Business, one Shelton Benjamin. It's not from Minnesota. He's from South Carolina. I was like, he's from South Carolina? I was like, he must have he went to college at Minnesota.
He went to college in Minnesota. I thought he was actually from Minnesota.
No, he's from South Carolina. I thought that was
from South Carolina.
I thought that was crazy. I'm like,
nice. Yeah. They're matter of fact, there was a wrestling show locally that had him on there, and I was working, so I couldn't go. I would have definitely liked to see that one. My number 3, possibly one of the funniest men around. Been in a lot of movies. Everybody does a personation, or I shouldn't say everybody, but if you can nail the personation of this guy, great. From the way he acts, the way he talks, and I can't think of the young gentleman that can do him really good on Saturday Night Live right now. But you see them on the young Chris Rock show, and that's Mr. Chris Rock himself.
I kind of stayed away from him. I don't know why. I just did.
All right.
So I'm gonna play with my number 3. I'm gonna play in your little homer field.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think it was one of the first NBA drafts that we actually we watched together, because of you're so hoping that this player who actually went to Farragut High School would actually get drafted by your Timberwolves. And it happened, and it happened. And it kind of started me being a big fan of this player. It was always one of those. We just did the show last week about who we wanted on our team, and this is kind of a guy I wouldn't have minded to have on our team. But my number 3 is Kevin Garnett.
Yep. All right, my number 2. You stole him early. At number 4, I could not remember. I pictured him, and I'm like, okay, I know what movie he was in. I mean, I saw him in 42. I saw him. You had him at number 5?
Chadwick Boseman, number 5.
Yes. Oh, number 5. Okay, I thought it was number 4. But yeah, Chadwick Boseman. Another guy I lost way too soon. I wish, would have liked to see where that career could have went.
Played in Draft Day, probably the greatest.
Drafted. That's what it was. Yes,
he was Vontez. He was Vontez Ford.
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 No, Vontez.
That's the other guy of.
Vontez Moore.
Vontez Davis.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, drafted. Now that you said it, it's like, yes, I know who it was, but yeah, a guy we lost way too soon. All right, you're number 1.
My number 2.
No, 2. I'm sorry, number 2.
My number 2. It's still not the double up, folks. There's still another double up on the board. I remember his battles with Muhammad Ali, and absolutely crazy. This guy was one of those people that Mike Tyson loved because he loved the way he fought. I know we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago about Mike Tyson and the other stuff. To me, I think one of the greatest nicknames in boxing. My number 2 is Smoking Joe Frazier.
That is a good one. And just to think, Tyson's coming out to fight again here in the next couple
Oh,
months.
I hope he knocks him unconscious.
Yeah. So, all right, my number one, we're not C2C unless we're sniping, and Tim's doing all the sniping today. His number 3 is my number one homer pick. One, Kevin Garnett, who should be in the Raptors at Target Center, but is not because of some personal issues between him and the owner. So hopefully, when and if that sale ever gets happened, opening night, KG gets put up there.
At this point, it's if.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
After the news I read about it, it's going to be if at this point.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so I'm pretty sure my number ones are safe from being sniped, and this is where my second,
I'm done.
my second double up is. Again, much like Amelia Earhart, there's a lot of people we have to be first. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, both of these guys have firsts, one for a good thing and one for a bad thing. And the funny thing is, and I kind of alluded to the fact that Jackie Robinson with Chadwick Boseman. Well, everybody knows that Chadwick Boseman, that Jackie Robinson was the first Major League Baseball player, first African American Major League Baseball player. But that was the NL. There is one guy who was in the American League, and it's funny that the American League team was the Cleveland Indians that brought in the first black baseball player. My number 1A is Larry Doby.
Okay.
And my number 1B, well, we kind of, there's a reason why the Chicago White Sox were called the Black Sox. And there's a reason, and it's because they were gambling on baseball. They threw the baseball.
Yep.
They threw the World Series, right? I think one guy who kind of got caught up in the wash, even though he didn't partake. But the fact is, you are guilt by association, which is funny because they said he signed his name on a contract. But if anybody knew about this particular player, I believe was played by John Cusack in 8 Men Out or something. I can't remember the name of the movie. He couldn't write. Which I think is hilarious. And he said, "Oh, we got his name on a contract." No, we don't. You really don't. Guy I think really deserves to be in the Hall of Fame well before Pete Rose. My number 1B is Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Okay. No, yeah. That whole White Sox scandal, yeah, this is just, I don't know. And with the news stories coming out now, I mean, what are they going to do with gambling and stuff like that and let people in? So, all right. So we got 3. So barely.
Barely.
So, all right. So let's go to the old city or state of the Vermont. Yeah, this one's gonna be tough. This one might be because it's so tough. We might go 5 for 5, but
and I'll be honest, I'm doubled up on one.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2.
I think it might be. Your 2 might be my double up. That's the bad thing. If we go like I think you're going to go. I think 3's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 3's possible.
All right, let's get with it.
All right, we don't really talk about much for religions, and especially people who create religions on this show. And then the person who creates a religion has a university named after him in Utah, in Provo. Okay. But and to find out that this gentleman was not born in Utah makes it even funnier. Find out he was actually born in the state of Vermont. And the funny thing is, I just had a conversation with my stepson asking me which state I would rather live in, and one state he brought up was Vermont. He was either Wyoming or Vermont, and I said Vermont. I'm starting to reconsider after what I read read about people that come from this state. Other than that, when you realize that Mormonism was brought to Utah by a guy from Vermont, it's even crazier. But But think about the quarterbacks that used to play at this college. Ty Detmer. You showed me a card earlier of one person who played at this college by the name of Jim McMahon. But the Hall of Famer that came from there, the huge Hall of Famer that came from there was Steve Young. My number 5 is Brigham Young.
Okay. Gotcha. Look at you pulling out the old history lesson on us. So, all right, I'm going to go number 5. I put him on the list more or less because of his family. Comes from a very funny family. And not saying that this kid ain't funny. I just,
He probably isn't.
Really seen, probably isn't.
Probably isn't.
But, his brothers, his dad, uncles, like I said, got a chain of funny people. And that's Damon Wayans Jr.
No, his family's funnier.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Go ahead with your number 4.
Considering who my number 4 is, and I didn't put Damon Wayans Jr. on my list, should tell you everything. Oh man, we don't do serial killers on this show. We just don't. And the funny thing is, this guy's known to be a serial killer from the West Coast all the way to Florida, and then gets sentenced to death in Florida in funny enough, a prison that both my sister and my brother have both worked
really?
at in Rayford, Florida, which I think is hilarious. And I don't really put serial killers on here, but when you hear the name, and the funny thing is, he was played by Zac Efron, which it makes it even funnier. My number 4 is Ted Bundy.
Have you seen that documentary?
Oh yeah,
on him?
I thought it was amazing. And the thing
Zac Efron is a good actor.
Oh yeah, and then and it was weird because I saw that movie, and then as a trip with my wife and our stepdaughter, we went into the serial killer exposition in Milano.
Okay.
No, she wasn't. No, the stepdaughter was. Lisa wasn't with us. We were going somewhere else, and then we decided to go to this exposition. And there's just tons of Ted Bundy stuff. I'm going, and then I'm realizing he was in Gainesville. Oh, I was in Gainesville, not at the same time, but holy hell, that's scary.
All right, my number 4. I guess we could kind of contribute him to being the one. The mastermind behind getting electric vehicles going. He was an inventor, and he's credited for the first steel car, I think, or a road car, I think they call it. And that's one Thomas Davenport.
Oh, I thought you were going a different direction.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when you said inventor, I'm like, how has he got my number 2?
No, you're number 3.
My number 3. Here's my double up, and I had to double check because I didn't want to make the mistake that you made earlier with one Dwight Eisenhower.
Yeah.
But here's my double up. When you realize that there was 2 presidents that came from Vermont, I couldn't tell you. I don't know much about them, and this is a fault of our school system, folks. So just so you know. My number 3A is Chester A. Arthur, and my number 3B is Calvin Coolidge.
Okay. No, we're not looking good here.
No, not even close.
My number 3, if you watch baseball, you see this clip every year roughly of him hit. Yep, exactly. For the Boston Red Sox, Chicago White Sox. I don't know. Yeah. One Carlton Fisk.
The original Pudge.
Yep. You're number 3 or 4.
2.
I'm sorry. I can't count today. You're number 2.
My number 2. Here's where I thought you were talking about inventors, because and it was really weird. You said steel car, and I'm like, okay, he didn't say steel plow. This guy is the inventor of the steel plow, is very well known for having his own farming equipment company. Actually even has a color of green named after him. And to believe that he's from Vermont, I thought he would have been somebody from Kansas. Why Vermont, not Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, the big Great Plains states. But my number 2 is John Deere.
Okay, that's a good one. Good pull. You had him early, so let's get the sniping out of the way here. Like you said, we don't really talk about these people, but yeah, if you're from Vermont, I'm guessing there's a big, I hate to say museum or something, but backstory somewhere. But yeah, one Ted Bundy.
Number 4.
Yep, number 4. You're number 1.
So I'll make you feel really happy. It's not C2C unless you're sniping. My number 2 is the original Pudge, one Carlton Fisk.
You mean you're number 1?
My number 1 is your number 3.
Wow, you had him up there. Okay.
Yeah, because you say everybody else on my list, it's kind of pretty. Carlton Fisk kind of runs away. Who did I miss?
Nope. And I believe you had him at number 3, but I have Calvin Cooley at number 1. So we ended up getting 3.
3.
Yep.
3.
Yep, exactly. All right, so let's move over to North Dakota.
Oof.
Yeah, this one, I one thing I hate about the internet is that when you type in certain things, it brings up everybody, and that's why I got Dwight Eisenhower wrong. And I almost had a second one because I wanted to bad check my stuff again. My number 1, I had to pull off of there, so I got to move everybody up 1 because I had Phil Jackson from North Dakota, and he's not.
He's from Montana.
Yeah, but he went to school. That's what I hate.
I had it too. And then I had to double check.
Yeah, and I don't know why I had to double check that one because it's not like I really knew, but I'm just like, because they also have Roger Maris from North Dakota, and he's actually born in Minnesota. So
right.
All right. So you know what? I'm gonna go 1.
This one is so difficult, and I think we kind of slightly know which one it's not on my list. I'm going, if we got 1, it's going to be tough.
All right, so I'm going to go double up here on number 5. The last 2 guys I had to throw in there because, like I said, I screwed up and had to refact. I'm going to go baseball since it is baseball season. First week's in the books here. Travis Hafner and Darren Erstad. So you're number 5.
Yeah, I have neither one of those. I'll be honest. Yeah. My number 5. I don't know in Minnesota if when you watch PBS, if this guy was on in like the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, I know you were born in the late 70s, but and you don't remember much. But I was in my early impressionable years, and I don't know if your PBS had this guy on. And the funny thing is, he was Polish, but you find out that he's actually not Polish, which is even weirder. Let me double check, but I swear to God, this is weird. And my grandparents loved to watch this, and I was kind of hated that they always put him on while we were over there. But my number 5, and he's technically really is an American, but he always had a really funny way of speaking, like he was from Poland. And Fred Armisen on Saturday Night Live used to do do an impersonation of him. But my number 5 is Lawrence Welk.
Okay.
But did you guys have him on PBS in Minnesota in the early 80s?
Oh, probably. I didn't, can't remember what I watched back then. All right. My number 4, going to pull the Homer card because I actually had an encounter with this gentleman at a gas station I worked at in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, which if you guys don't know, used to be the home, still is the home of the Vikings training facility, but they moved it down further. So the original training facility was just minutes away from where I worked at. And this guy would come in frequently and buy 2 rolls of chew to take on a road trip with him for the weekend. And that is one tight end who dropped a lot of balls. So we called him the flying saucer or fumble saucer or whatever. And that's one Jim Kleinsasser.
Kleinsasser. Oh my gosh, I forgot Klein. He came from North Dakota.
Yep.
All right. I'm sorry.
All right. You're number 4.
My number 4. This is the one you should kind of have a feeling is going to be coming out of nowhere. A guy who was drafted out of North Dakota State. Supposedly, the guy that was supposed to be the second coming of Ron Jaworski in the Philadelphia Eagles at this point, the only guy who to lead his team to the NFC East Championship, only to get hurt and not make the Super Bowl, and lose, basically have Nick Foles win the Super Bowl, which I think is hilarious. But we're not going to talk about this. The guy looks like he could be the spitting image of Prince Henry. Mm-hmm. Every time I see him, I'm going, great. Prince Henry's still playing football. The guy who's collecting checks right now, I believe, from 4 different teams.
And now he just signed with another one.
That's the 4th team, because he signed with the Colts. Oh my gosh, that was a stomach ache. Went to the Rams, went to the Lions, and now he's with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, and the guy that makes me sick every time I hear his name. So hopefully this is the last time I ever have to say his name. My number 4 is truthfully a Red Rooster, Carson Wentz.
And the thing coming out of college is everybody in Minnesota wanted him. They wanted that local tie. Yeah. Because he was supposed to be, like you said, the next coming of whichever great quarterback, and so I mean, I was kind of bummed we didn't get him, and then when the Philly let him go, it's like, well, why don't we bring him in? And then he went to the Colts, but and I want to say he's honestly has been on 3 Super Bowl teams and had not stepped foot on the Super Bowl field.
He
possibly
2
if we go to Kansas, but if Kansas City goes in there.
Yeah, he's going to be because he wins a Super Bowl champion. He wins a championship with Philadelphia in his rookie year. Then he wins. Then he wins a Super Bowl with the Rams.
Yeah, so he's got 2 rings that has not played in the Super Bowl.
2 rings, not played a single minute in a Super Bowl.
Wow. All right, my number 3. I could put kind of ties between me, you, and your brother here on this one, because we kind of all do this. Well, I know you and your brother did it quite frequently when you guys were in the States. I do it tomorrow night. As a matter of fact, I play poker. But one Greg Raymer from North Dakota, Greg Poker Pro. Let's just say. Oh, I think I have a delivery coming.
Okay, well,
I think I do.
All right.
Okay, go ahead with your number 2.
My number 3. My number 3. It's funny because Spike TV had this TV show on, and I'm trying to look for it so I can watch it again, and it's about a college football team in Montana, if I'm not mistaken. Absolutely loved it. This guy played, and it showed a really weird, crazy. Okay, well, that's cool because I don't know where else to go from this. Go ahead. But it was about a college football team, where the head coach was played by Ed Marinaro. But the guy who came out and turned around and has now become the newest Jack Reacher. I think absolutely plays Jack Reacher 8 million times better than Tom Cruise. Actually is more Jack Reacher than Tom Cruise because Jack Reacher is a 6'3", 245-pound man, and we all know Tom Cruise is a midget. So if this gets back to Tom Cruise, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what anybody's talking about. My number 3 is Jack Reacher himself, Alan Richson.
Okay. Nah, guys, I'm sorry. I'm expecting a delivery that I thought I saw the post office guy come by. So, all right. Anyways, my number 2 actress, threw her on there just, one being an actress, and just thought we had to throw a female on here. Again, North Dakota was a tough one for me. That's Angie Dickinson.
Wow, you did put Angie Dickinson on there.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
All right, you're number 2.
Well, you kind of brought it up, and you kind of had to bring it up because it is something that my brother and I do, and you do it tomorrow night. And I was lucky enough to be in Vegas and ran into the guy and had a small little conversation with him. And then turned around, and my brother goes and plays in a best bet at a tournament in Jacksonville, Florida at the Best Bet. And I just happened to be there. And my brother played on the same table as this man. So we know what it's like to meet the fossil man himself, one Greg Raymer.
Okay. All right. So my number 1 got ties to Minnesota. Great actor. I've seen him in a few movies. I've even seen him in the reboot of The Mighty Ducks, who he plays the coach of the hockey program. They kind of spun it off. It wasn't. They could have called it something else, I think, instead of Mighty Ducks, because it didn't really play along the movies. But he actually, it's funny because he actually has a when he got married, he actually had a guy who I kind of idolize now that I've met a few times, and Chris Hockey, who's a local DJ here, played, and had him play at his wedding. And I actually got to talk to Chris Hockey last Thursday because he was at my work for his K-Fan TV show and stuff, or radio show. And so he got to play and this was on Saturday night, or one of the late night shows that he goes, yeah, my buddy Chris Hockey played at our wedding. They had a clip of it. And that's one Josh Duhamel.
You took him. Oh man, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
I saw him. I'm like, no, that's not right.
You're number 1.
Okay, my number 1. Well, we got one. It's kind of weird one. I wasn't expecting for you to get that one, but it's weird because every time I was in school, they always had these, and we don't have authors too many times on our list, and this name always stuck out to me, especially between elementary school and high school, that if you ever wanted to read a Western book, there was always one guy, and it was always, his name was so prominent on the cover. And I know so many people that have read his books, and it's amazing. And I still to this day have never picked up one of his books, but my number 1 is Louis L'Amour.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the name. I'm not much of a reader, so that's why I didn't put him on there. All right. So we got one. The one I kind of thought we'd get that one, but I was like, oh, maybe he had 5 other people up there that were different. So I actually thought maybe you would have put Kleinsasser in there to try to throw past me there.
No, I didn't even see Kleinsasser, to be honest.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So let's go into the great state of Michigan, where we, kind of met, I guess. Well, yeah, we did meet in Michigan at a nightclub. You're from Wisconsin, though, so all right.
Here's the weird thing is, I could look at right now. I could do 20 right now.
Yeah, I looked at the list too, and I'm like, yeah, we could have done probably a whole show on Michigan.
God, it's crazy. I'm tripled up at 6. I'm doubled up at 5. I'm tripled up at 4. I'm like,
wow. Well, I got 2 double ups for sure. And I know we talked backstage, so you kind of know one of them. So, but outside of that, I'm gonna go a soft 2 on this one. I could see 3.
I could see 3. I'll tell you right now, if
This might be the odd one where we go like 5 for 5 because
we go 5 for 10, 5 for 8,
yeah.
because like I said, I'm doubled and tripled up at 4 and 5, and
Okay.
I tripled up at 6 and then never used 6. So
All right. So well, you go ahead and you start off at 5.
all right. It's weird because it's like you said, you brought up earlier that baseball, the first weekend of baseball just started. One of my guys is my 5A is a guy who has won 2 World Series, but one is more memorable than the other because of a certain home run he hit against the guy who was absolutely, the year that he hit it against him was absolutely phenomenal because I think he had a 0 ERA, if I'm not mistaken, in the playoffs. He ended up playing at Michigan State. But my number 5B has got a little bit more of a story, especially personally to me, my dad, and my brother, because we were lucky enough to see him play when he was in Little League. Because it's a huge story, especially in Iron Mountain, where they had the Michigan Little League World Series took place in Iron Mountain, Michigan. And they keep talking about this big face-off between one Steve Avery and my number 5. And my dad took us to go see that because my brother was big into baseball, and we were lucky enough to see this game that keeps getting talked about in Michigan, especially in Iron Mountain, and to have those 2 guys actually be on the same pitching staff for the Atlanta Braves which is even crazier. My 5A is Kirk Gibson after he won a World Series in Detroit, and then he goes to Los Angeles and wins one and hits that epic home run that we all talk about in '88 against Dennis Eckersley. But my number 5
was told not to swing.
It was told not to swing, and because it would probably have done more damage to him if he had. But my number 5 is probably one of the top 4 greatest Atlanta Braves pitchers in history. And then he goes and becomes a closer with. Was he a closer with New York?
I think he went to. No.
Or am I thinking of Glavine?
Glavine, I don't think ever closed, but yeah, Smoltz went to. Didn't he just close with the Braves and then became a starter again?
Yeah, that's what it was. But mine, as you gave away my 5B, it was John Smoltz, and it was at Lowell Field in Iron Mountain, Michigan, where the famous pitching game between John Smoltz and Steve Avery.
Nice. I kind of forgot you drove me by there one time and told me the story.
We played basketball at that park.
Yeah, we did. So my number 5, again, this is going to be the third of 4 wrestlers I have on my list here. Being wrestling weekend, and technically I don't think he's really a wrestler, but he got his start in Minnesota as an announcer, then went to producing, and then was the mastermind behind probably one of the best storylines in the 90s, probably one of 2 of the greatest factions of all time. Now he's doing a lot of promoting for Hulk Hogan. He's a business partner, I think, with him.
He does. He's got a podcast too.
He's got a podcast. Yes, he does. 52 or 82 weeks or something like that, or something it's called. Yeah. And that is one Eric Bischoff.
I thought you were going to double up with that one.
No. I think I know who you're talking about, but no. All right, number 4.
My number 4. One of the biggest times in music history sat there and came right out of Detroit. I think I've had all 3 of these at one point in a list. I think we had 3 weeks. I think it was a birthday thing, and it was like not too long ago. And the whole big Motown sound, and they all talk about how Motown really reinvented basically the music genre. If it wasn't for Motown, we don't get people like Michael Jackson. We don't get another person that's kind of on our list in another state. My number 4 is, I have 3, so I'm pretty safe. I have Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, and Stevie Wonder.
All great names. You are exactly right. So, all right, my number 4 is my double up. I'm going to play, I guess, Homer card by affiliation because I lived there for a couple of years, and that is one Iron Mountain, Michigan. I'm going to go with the great coach from Michigan State and Tom Izzo. And then I'm going to go with the lady that I think either your sister or brother probably graduated with.
She was in between both of us.
Okay, gotcha. So you know who I'm talking about.
But we all. But the funny thing is, my brother played on the same little league team as she was.
Yeah, I remember you telling me a story about her. Anna DeForge, WNBA great, I guess, from Iron Mountain, Michigan.
You could have honestly tripled up there.
Who's the third one?
Steve Mariucci.
Mariucci. That, I was doing the list. I'm like, God, I know there's another coach.
They have Izzo and Mariucci. They host the bocce ball tournament there every year.
Bocce ball. God. All right, you're number 3.
My number 3. Honestly, if it weren't for my number 4, we don't get my number 3. And to be honest, and to think that if we don't have a number 3, we don't have a Lady Gaga at this point, because she basically just created the whole. She was a once in a generational talent. I think she married Sean Penn is even weirder, and then she married Guy Ritchie, was even weirder. But I think we've done a top 5 songs of hers in one of our lists, if I'm not mistaken. An Italian American. My wife will kill me because I didn't say Italian American. If I said Italian, she's going to shoot me because she's from Detroit, not Palermo, or Sicily or anything like that. Don't ever say somebody's from Sicily around her. She'll kill you. She's crazy. She can be crazy when she wants to be. Much like my number 3. My number 3 is Madonna.
Oh wow! Didn't even realize she was from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number.
She's from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. She's from.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, my number 3. That's one thing with Detroit. There were so many musicians that you could have thrown on there, and I didn't have one. So my number 3 probably is a double up. Probably 2 of the coolest guys back in their day when they're in their prime. And actually one, and honestly, probably still 2 of the coolest dudes. I know one recently passed away. The other one's been in so many films, TV shows, made cameos on Friends, stuff like that. But one is Mr. Baseball himself, if you watch the movie, Tom Selleck. And the other one is, I just had the movie in my head now. Smokey and the Bandit. Burt Reynolds.
I thought Burt Reynolds was from Florida.
Is that the one again where you type in born and?
Because I know because Burt Reynolds played at Florida State. That's why. I could be completely wrong, but I know Burt Reynolds played at Florida State.
Lansing, Michigan.
Holy hell! How did I not have that one?
Yeah, because you're thinking it was from Florida.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I didn't see the name either. That's the other reason. Holy.
Well, and the funny thing is it was funny. A few years ago, there was a St. Paul Saints player, Burt Reynolds. So I got his autograph, and it was where we went there for my son's birthday party. So some of my 2 sisters came, and I was like, I just got Burt Reynolds' autograph. She's like, what? The real Burt Reynolds? I was like, well, he's on the Saints, so yeah, he's real.
He's pretty real. Yeah,
So,
I didn't even see Burt Reynolds. Holy heck.
all right, you're number 2.
My number 2. I kind of made a running joke last week about where was it last week or it was during the birthdays of March, and about how the city of Detroit is the city that Ford built, and then you find out that it was actually founded by Cadillac.
Yeah.
Well, Henry Ford gets lucky, and he's going to be on my list this week, as being from Michigan, and also from Detroit. So yeah, my number 2 is Henry Ford.
Okay. My number 2, probably a guy you don't want to mess with, even though he is now 71.
71.
We'll be 72 this month.
Who did I
So you
miss?
definitely didn't want to mess with him in his prime, and you probably still don't want to mess with him now because he probably could kick you without you even moving. And that's one Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I saw that one and didn't put him on the list.
And he's also from Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
All right, you're number 1.
My number 1. We've got people that I made the comment earlier that
And this could be an offer.
It could be an offer, and I have this feeling it could be. How I made a connection with Amelia Earhart with another one. Well, this one's going to be this is the one connection I make, and everybody remembers that the fact is that his plane was called the Spirit of St. Louis, which, if anybody remembers, the ABA team was named the Spirits. The St. Louis Spirits was named after his airplane. Well, he's not from Missouri. He's from Michigan. And I didn't know that until today. Like I said, I always thought he was from Missouri. But my number 1 is one Charles Lindbergh.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Let me guess on your number 1.
Go ahead.
Guess. It's one of 2 people.
Okay.
One of 2 people.
All right.
It's either Kevin Nash.
Nope.
Or it's Floyd Mayweather Jr.
No, I can't stand that guy.
I can't stand Mayweather either.
And I wish Pacquiao would have pummeled him. I wish Logan Paul would have pummeled him. But I gotta give the guy credit. I mean, he knows how to make money. But
he's a track.
My number 1 is the voice of music, I guess. Rankings, a matter of fact. Always had a Saturday night, I think it was Saturday or Sunday hits or something like that.
Don't tell me I missed.
He played he did a cameo on Saved by the Bell when they were doing a music show.
This one's gonna hurt my head.
Yeah, it is, because when you start talking music, I'm like, oh, you have him, you did it.
Oh, let me guess.
Casey Kasem. Yeah.
Okay, I don't feel so bad. I thought, did I miss Wolfman Jack? That would. I'll be honest, that would have pissed me off. Here's the funny thing is, and you bring him up, right? You bring up Casey Kasem, and the funny thing is, he links up to my number 11, which is hilarious, because if you remember, Casey Kasem was the original voice of Shaggy on Scooby Doo. My number 11 is Matthew Lillard, who actually played Shaggy in the Scooby Doo movies, and I'm like, that would have been a double up.
Yeah, that could have been. All right, so let's go to Minnesota. Well, we're going to close out the state here, and then we'll get into a quick list that I found on the internet. So
I doubled up.
I have one double up in Minnesota. I have
one double up.
We could have went forever on this one. Again, I will say right now, I don't have any baseball players on here. So Maurer did not make my list.
You don't have any baseball players?
No.
Oh shoot! Well, we can forget 5.
No. We're going to go 2 for. We're going. I say 2. Because now that I don't have baseball players on there.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you're double ups baseball players, we could easily do 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say at this point, I'm saying 3.
Okay.
With the strong outside.
All right. So it's my turn to go first. So Minnesota.
Lead them out.
So number 5, and I alluded to this in the last topic when I said Eric Bischoff. I do have another wrestler on there. No, it's not Ric Flair because he's not from Minnesota. No, it's not Hulk Hogan because he's not from Minnesota. It is the governor of Minnesota, the body, the mind, the guy that now does not want to declare U.S. his home. But Jesse the Body Ventura, who I actually was lucky enough, I did get to shake his hand, but I graduated from the same high school that he went to.
I know. That's the funny thing is I know you did. That's the crazy, because I remember that was one of the first things that you were telling me. Oh, I went to school with the same school he did. I'm like, yeah, you're too young to go to school with him. So I think the reason why he's crazy is because he drank out of every lake of the 10,000 lakes.
Probably, yeah. So,
and I'll be honest, I've actually drank from some of the lakes near Ely, Minnesota. So I got sick coming back from Minnesota. So,
all right, you're number 5.
Well, is it too early to say it's not C2C unless we're sniping? My number 5 is your number 5. Oh my gosh, my brother absolutely loves Jesse Ventura. Especially because oh my God, my brother watched Predator and for some reason can't stop saying some of the words, some of the quotes that Jesse Ventura says. I'm like, holy hell. Yeah. But yeah, my number 5 is your number 5.
Okay. All right, so moving on. I got 2 at number 4 here.
This is the one I'm scared about.
Look up. But
this is the one I'm scared of.
And honestly, if it wasn't for the internet, I didn't know Jessie Biel was from Minnesota either.
Yeah, she's from Ely.
Yeah.
She's from Ely.
Yeah. So I got 2 guys on here. One pretty funny guy, but I think he's actually both of them kind of gotten away from acting that I've heard. One is played a running back in my favorite movie, Rudy. And the other one, of course, played in the series American Pie. And the running back we're talking about is Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, even though everybody thinks he's from Chicago, but he's not.
And then the other one is the funny guy, Stifler, Sean William Scott.
It's just funny because oh my gosh, I got a guy that I played semi-pro football with. His name is Eric Schemmel, and looks identical to Sean William Scott.
Oh yeah.
And it was terrible. I thought he was going to hate me for life after that and then we became drinking buddies, and it was really weird because we'd sit there and we had training camp, and I'm like, oh, look, Stifler here is coming. And I was playing center, and I would look right at it, and I'm like, oh, Stifler's over here looking like he's going to try to blitz me from the middle linebacker spot. Stifler doesn't have a chance. And to this day, there's like 3 of us that still call Eric Stifler.
Nice. All right. You're number 4.
My number 4. I really wish you would put some baseball players on here because now everything else is starting to look terrible. Because I know I had a guaranteed snipe at my number 3. Number 4, not a baseball player, but a singer-songwriter. I've listened to some of this stuff. For some reason, my stepdaughter, who's Italian, has turned to like some of his music. And you're thinking, oh, you didn't put him at number 1. No, I put somebody else at number 1. And it's absolutely crazy that his anti-war music in the 60s were so big. And then if you ever watched the movie The Watchmen, his song Times Are A-Changing shows up at the beginning. And the funny thing is, I watched that We Are the World, the greatest night in pop. And he's there, and it's crazy to see him in. But I never realized how much of a recluse and how much of a guy how much of a loner he really was and really is, because I can't say was because he's still alive. But my number 4 is Bob Dylan.
Okay. All right, my number 3
What was your number 4? Oh, yeah. What was
Vince
your
Vaughn. Vince Vaughn and
Oh, Vince Vaughn and
yeah, I started. All
That's
right, so my number 3, you know, you got to be on the list if you got something named after you. And for the longest time, up until when did Tiger Field open? 2016, 15. Anyways, the Twins and Vikings Gophers all played at the dome. You drive down and that's what you see when you just see the big marshmallow. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know what it would be named. The 38th Vice President of the United States, Hubert Humphrey.
I've been to the Marshmallow once. Once.
I've been there quite a few times. All right, so you're number 3.
Well, my number 3 is my double up, and we're gonna. At this point, you've probably already guessed what my double up is.
It could be 2 or 3 players.
2 or 3 players, because for some reason I forgot Joe Mauer. The two guys that have spent some time at the Marshmallow. But one I was lucky enough to have watched play as a Milwaukee Brewer. 2 guys you have told me plenty of times you always wanted to see in the Twins jerseys. One you wanted a little earlier than when he went to Toronto and win a World Series. But my number 3, probably the second greatest Padre to me. I think is probably the second greatest Padre behind Tony Gwynn and Dave Winfield, and my other probably the second or third greatest Milwaukee Brewer to have ever played in County Stadium. My 3B is Paul Mahler. Yes, I know. Before any Twins fans and Minnesota people come out looking for me and wanting to hunt me down, like the one that's I co-host this show with. Yes, I forgot Joe Mauer.
That's fine. But you forgot Blackjack Morris. I mean, you could have got 3 Paul kids in there. But no, that's okay. I'll forgive you on the Mauer one. Or we'll forget the Mauer one. My number 2, great actress. I just kind of looked up her profile. I did not know she passed away in England. But she's from Minnesota. They actually just found the missing item from the Wizard of Oz, her ruby slippers that were stolen from the museum.
Sure.
And now the people have got them back and now they're going to sell them. I don't know why. But anyways, that's one Wizard of Oz, and my wife's least favorite movie of all time that she cannot stand watching, or she can't even stand if we go to. It was funny because we went to a casino and they had the Wizard of Oz slot machine, and she would not
love that slot machine.
And she would not touch it.
I love
and that's one Judy Garland.
Oh well, I kind of figured this one was coming. I forgot that her last name was Gum too. That's even better.
All right, you're number 2.
Well, it's not C2C unless we're sniping. My number 2 is your number 2, and I have this feeling you're going to snipe me at number 1 because we both know we have both pennants for our number 1. But go ahead. My number 2 is your number 2, Judy Garland.
All right. And what can I say? But when you started talking music, I thought you had them at number 3 or number 4. But
like I said, he says,
what can you say? I mean, that was, and the sad thing is when the news broke that when Prince, we'll just say it, Prince passed away. I did not know how big of a fan one of my cousins was to Prince. I mean, he wrote almost like a paper on Facebook on what Prince meant to him, and I did not realize it. But yeah, I don't know if you can do Minnesota history or people born from Minnesota and not have Prince on there.
Yeah, it was weird, and it's even weirder because my cousin sent me a picture. I want to say last week or the week before, and they went record shopping, and she brought Purple Rain.
Nice
on vinyl, and I thought, well, that's and she put it on Facebook, thinking of my Uncle Stuart, and I'm thinking, and it was weird because my dad was when I finally asked my dad this question. I think he was in his late 50s, and I'm like, Dad, we've never talked about music, and he's like, not really. And I said, what's your favorite band, and what's your favorite song, what's your favorite album? He says Prince, and I'm like, are you shitting me? I'm like, you're in your 50s and you like Prince? He says, what? And I'm like, what's your favorite movie? He says, Purple Rain. I'm like, okay, you've watched all these movies and you like Purple Rain. He says, what's your favorite song? Purple Rain. I'm like, are you kidding me? And people didn't understand it, couldn't believe it. And he says, what's your favorite album? Purple Rain. I'm like, and my dad would sing, my dad would sing Purple Rain terribly, but he sang it. And when it was like, it was crazy because, I was in a car. We were going to Arlington to go bury my dad almost a year later. When it's funny, it just came up. The memorial, the anniversary of that just came up last week, if I'm not mistaken. And that was crazy. And yeah, of course, I'm going to Arlington, and I've got Purple Rain playing in my car. And the whole album in my car is like, it had to be done. It was just strange. And I think there are people in my family that still to this day would have said, "Oh, your dad's a James Bond fan. He would pick the Bond movie." And then he said, "No, it's Purple Rain." I'm like, "Are you joking?" And I'm like, "No." And it's absolutely honest. And it's like, and I told this, and I was working at a Pizza Hut at the time, and when I heard about it, and I literally felt like I had the wind knocked out of me, because it felt like it is like I had lost my dad the year before.
No.
And in 2015, and Prince died in 2016 on the same day as China.
Yep.
Which is really even crazier. And it felt like I had lost another piece of my dad. So I sat there for 25 minutes out back, just bawling my eyes out, because it felt like I had been kicked again. It hurt.
Yeah, nope. That was a big day, like you said. When he passed, China passed, got the news when I was at the zoo, I think, when those people passed. So, all right, so let's get into a quick topic here, or list, since it was Easter 2 days ago. This is from mash.com. I believe this came out January 31st of this year. The top, we'll go 16. We'll make it quick. Easter candies, worst to best.
Oh, my God.
All right. Number 16, my son will already hate this list.
Peeps.
Because Peeps is number 16.
Some things are terrible. I hate marshmallow.
Yeah, no, my son loves Peeps. It was him and his
things are in the perfect
thing.
spot. Absolutely perfect spot for them things.
All right. Number 15, Coconut Nest.
Hate coconut.
Yeah, I'm not a coconut guy either. So, chocolate covered marshmallow eggs at number 14 in the little egg carton.
Marshmallow. So far, we're good.
The Cadbury cream egg. Never been a fond of that one.
They're not bad. They're rich. They're rich. They're really, really rich.
They are rich. Maybe that's why I don't like them. All right. Branch's classic jelly bean bird eggs at number 12.
Which one? Are those the malted ones?
Those are the ones in the they're little, they're in like a pinkish bag. I like jelly beans, so I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I'm a jelly bean fan.
All right, number 11, another one of Tim's favorite here, Branch's marshmallow Easter eggs.
Forget that.
The 10, the classic, the foiled wrapped chocolate eggs.
I don't mind those.
No.
The big ones? The big ones?
No, the little one, the little jelly bean sized ones. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I probably have. No.
Number 9, the solid milk chocolate bunny. Number 8. Number 8, the mini Reese's peanut butter egg.
Eggs. Oh, those things are like, those should be number
and the
one.
thing is they make them fresh because they don't keep them all year long like they're Reese's. So,
right.
All right, the Cadbury caramel egg. Not bad.
Like caramel. I like caramel. So,
all right, the Whoppers Robin egg.
Those are the malted balls. I like Whoppers too.
Yeah, those are awesome. Yeah. Cadbury mini eggs. I think they're kind of a
Yeah, I think I know.
spin-off. Yeah, I think they're a little spin-off of
Yeah,
number 4, the big chewy nerd jelly beans.
I never had one. Not the big
Yeah.
ones.
And of course, number 3, the Reese's peanut butter egg. Not the
Yep.
mini, the full-size one.
Yep.
Number 2, the strawberry or Starburst jelly beans.
Oh, those things are gods, man. Those things are awesome.
And number 1, the hollow milk chocolate bunnies.
Yeah, yeah. It's those things are. You should come here, man. It's weird because they have eggs, right? They have eggs. They go from anywhere that have stuff inside them. They're anything from about 7-8 inches to.
Oh yeah, we got some of those here too. Yeah.
Things are, but they're full. They're full of different things, and it's like,
oh, okay,
that's crazy.
All right. So with that being said, Tim, final thoughts on the show this week.
Yeah, I like it's fun. I like these. You guys are doing. I'm boring you. I get it. I understand.
No.
You didn't have your mess around nap. I get it.
Yeah.
You guys are you guys doing a between the ropes this weekend, or are you guys?
We'll do it Sunday. They moved it back to try to get more people on.
So you guys are going to do a recap of day one?
We'll probably do a recap of day one. We'll probably do a recap of day two a little bit. Maybe do a little watch along depending on when the show is. But outside of that, tonight, nothing. I know me and Adam are talking about doing something that may pop up this week or next week.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Wednesday's Sports Minute, where you can follow us and because we did our annual follow MLB draft teams where Adam drafts teams for us and we got to root for them and get points and
who did I like that. As a Milwaukee Brewer fan myself, who did I get saddled with?
No, it was me, Callan.
I said who's going to be now the faux Brewers fan? Go with me.
The Brewers fan. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Callan did a spreadsheet on that or a snippet. Let's see here. I want to say Adam got that team.
The guy who roots for every Wisconsin team except for the Brewers.
Yeah. I'll have to look and send it to you. So, and then we also got Callan's show. I know he's taking some time off, but Press Road is pop on here and there.
Oh yeah,
we got Kicking It. Hopefully, we get the missing Isaiah back and finally get his movie reviews because I'm sure missing his movie reviews.
My wife is missing them. April 25th at my 12 o'clock. We've got Bacon and I are going to do the Bacon Prime Draft special that we do now, our third annual Bacon Prime Draft.
Yep.
I only do one round because they do one round on Thursday, and by the time I start getting into it, it's 12 o'clock when it starts here. So sleep it doesn't exist, and by the time I get done, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So we only cover the first round anyways. We may have special guests. Never know.
Yep, exactly. Especially
if Brandon gets on a break at the time.
Yeah, we'll talk about how the Vikings missed out on whoever. We'll hear Tim say, "Oh, this guy should be drafted now. This guy should be the." I don't know how many times you heard that
who's
one.
Who's going to be this year's Nolan Smith at this point? And who's going to be
Will
Levis?
Yeah. So with that being, and what day is that again?
The 25th of April.
25th of April. Okay.
It's a Thursday for everybody who's looking at their calendar.
Yes. So with that being said, thank you guys all again. And we'll see you all next week on C2C Rankem. Have a good one.